Okay, guys, we're here with Roberto from Montreal with Check Please. We ran each other at the Food Expo, right? Which one is that? The RC show?
That's right, RC show.
Yeah, we met. We're working on some similar technologies. We're working with one of our clients, Tap Menu, and you were there with your booth for Check Please, and we had a great time catching up and touching base about how the two different similar technologies are coming up out of very similar markets, but out of Montreal and Toronto. And we're talking about the tech scene in Montreal versus Toronto. And amid all this stuff with COVID-19 going on, the pandemic, I thought it'd be great to reach out to you to see how things are changed in the city, how's tech evolved. I know the marketplace has changed, especially with a lot of restaurants now struggling to stay open and figure things out. So I really want to take this time to talk a bit more about that and what you guys are dealing with.
Oh, perfect. And I really appreciate it, Ravi, for reaching out. I think we're all going through a really interesting time. This is something that most startups have never had to deal with before. So, we have to be really nimble and try to adapt to the changing climate and environment. So it's a good time. I think there's a lot to talk about. Look, I'll give you my opinion on it and how we're dealing with the situation. Hopefully, hopefully we can help the world through this next hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Help the world. I think that comes down to it, right? But how do we help the world if we can't help ourselves and can't function with this? I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out how to work from home, how to work with their friends, with their colleagues, especially for entrepreneurs whose coworkers are friends, who are what they see every day and I've been in the trenches with. Now you don't see people as much anymore because you're at quarantine or at home, right? How's that with you? How's your coworkers and your co-founders looking like?
Yeah, So look, for us, it's been a bit of an adjustment. Mm-hmm. I think it's the same as everybody else. Once you get into that into that back and forth, and you start to create a good vibe between your team, being able to see each other every day is really, really helpful. So, we had to adjust. To be honest, it's not too bad. We make sure we meet all the time. Zoom has been really helpful with that. And we just make sure we have enough face time and that we put in enough processes in place that we're continuing to reach our milestones and our goals, and we continue, progressing, because I think that's what's more important than anything else right now is not to stay stagnant, not to, get too trumped up on everything that's going on in the world. You still have tasks that need to get accomplished. There's still people to help. The reason you started your startup still exists. So I think for us it was just about how do we make sure we keep those channels of communication open, that everything's still clear, because I think that's one of the big parts, right? Is if you don't establish how you're going to communicate right from the beginning, from moving from an in-office situation to working from home, you have to, it's going to get complicated, it's going to get confusing, and teams are going to start doing their own thing. So we tried to establish that right from the beginning, and set up the, how we wanted to deal with this, from day one. So for us, what we do, try to do daily, calls between the team, kind of like a stand-up meeting, but we make it quick. And we have our tools. We use Microsoft Teams, and we have our channels in that. And we make sure we continue. And then at the end of every week, we have a solid hour discussion with the whole team, figure out what we're doing and what changed with regards to new policies, or which talk about anything that's going on in the world, kind of like we call it our virtual happy hour. So that's how we deal with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The virtual happy hour, that's been going around, right?
It's a good idea.
Yeah, it is a good idea because you need that, because part of having a work environment is that you can de-stress with those people afterwards and know them as people outside of work as well, right?
It's so important. It's so important. I think connecting with personalities is what enables good ideas to exist, and I think like for us, the Fridays are that day to where, things are a lot more relaxed, and everyone feels like they can just, talk openly. So we wanted to continue that digitally. This was the way to do it. It's not the same, but it's what we got right now, and you got to make the best of it.
Yeah. Cool. So let's dig into that. Like, how big is your team?
Yeah, so we're a small team, which makes it a little bit easier than most. So we're 7 in all, but we try and keep it. We try to function straight from the beginning with proper processes in place, so that when this does scale, we're quickly able to adapt. So that was kind of the process behind it. Yeah, but we're 7. We're 3 co-founders, all from 2 from Montreal, one's from Gatineau. So we're all Quebecers. But yeah, so as it's still very doable. Like, we can absolutely manage that team abroad. At home. It's not. It wasn't too much of a change for us.
Yeah. I think, like, especially the smaller teams, like entrepreneurial teams, we're used to this, right? We're used to working from home, have to bootstrap and make do whatever resources we have. But and for a lot of people, I mean, it's a lot of big companies, especially, it's weird to see them struggle, because they are so well resourced. They had so much time to prepare for, these kind of eventualities. But they were reluctant to change their times, right? There's so many bosses that I talk to that, or people who talk about their bosses being like so reluctant to let them work from home even, right? Because I don't trust you. How do I know we're doing work? How do you know you're not being productive? But now that we're forced to kind of work from home and work from a collaborative environment where we kind of have to trust to get the work done, because there's really no way of doing it properly, right?
Oh, I think those type of companies are going to come out of this with a whole other view of teleworking, and they'll clearly see the benefits. I know a lot of big companies, and even some co-founders of bigger startups that were successful. They were a lot were actually very, very pro coming into the office and creating that environment, which it is very important. But what this whole thing did was show people a whole other way of working, which can be equally as effective and probably more efficient, depending on your team. So I think it is very interesting to see. I'm excited to see how this is going to turn out when the offices do open up again. I expect a lot less business travel. I think people are realizing now that you can actually accomplish a lot over a video call. And although this isn't new, a lot of companies, like you mentioned, were reluctant to do it as they're forced to. This might become the new norm, which has a lot of benefits, whether for the company in terms of cash flow or even the environment. If we can cut the amount of business travel, that's super helpful. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how things turn out. But we're lucky as a small startup like us. I think the biggest strength that we have is the fact that we can be super nimble, and adapting and iterating is an easy thing. It's something we do all the time anyway. So all this was an extension of that. And I hope that a lot of the 10 to 20 person companies, the small companies, like us, look at this situation as, they shouldn't be scared to take advantage of this, and to maybe build something that they didn't think they would have built before, to make sure their product is ironclad, to be speaking to their customers, understanding everybody's needs, because things might have shifted and you might have to change your product. We did a lot of that too. We didn't have a choice. So I think it's really important that we have that strength, and we have this kind of lull period to really go at it and come up with some great ideas, some great initiatives, and yeah, I think we had to do that. We're still doing it every day.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about that, right? Like, what were you guys doing before? And then we'll dive into what you're doing now, right? What was your
Definitely.
company's, what were you guys working on? Oops. Hello?
2018. Yeah. Oh, it's like
Yeah. It
year
froze a little bit,
before.
right?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a lag. Okay. It looks like we're back.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So look, we started Check Please in
Mm.
2018. So we were three co-founders, all engineers from McGill, and we were actually still in school when we started the company. And at that point, we were actually celebrating the end of semester. So we had gone out, we were a big group of people, at a local bar in Montreal. And as the night started to die down, we were ready to leave. It was time to go. And the night was done, and we just wanted to get out of there and go home. It's kind of where we started to see the friction associated with payments. So, the whole billing process was a disaster. They brought us the bills the first time; they were completely incorrect. To come back, make changes to it. The process took a half hour. 2 or 3 Ubers come and go. So the next morning we woke up and we started talking about how much of a pain that was. We realized, what, we can. There should be a better way of doing this. So we started to look more into the industry, find out that, for restaurants, one, very low margin industry, very difficult. Restaurateurs are the strongest, most dedicated people on the planet to get into that industry. The odds are very against you. It's hard to succeed. And, unfortunately, not all, payments in general is a big cost for them. So, even the hardware associated with payments is something that we feel doesn't need to exist anymore. We've come to a place where we can really push past that. And so the more we start to speak about it, the more we realize we think we had something. We started to talk to restaurants, managers, owners, wait staff, and realize there's a real friction point surrounding the payment process and an individual's payment experience. So in 2019, we graduated, went full into it. We've been working on it ever since. Developed our prototype, found our first few customers in the summer of 2019. Worked through the product, iterated with them. They really, so like our first restaurant was Grumman 78 in St. Henry, Montreal. The owners there were super helpful in giving us that background that we needed to understand the restoration space and the complexities associated with operations in that type of business. So over the summer, developed the product, fine-tuned it, tested it. We were part of we won the McGill Dobson Cup in April, and then the summer we were part of the McGill X1 Accelerator Program. We were also part of a FinTech Accelerator Program called FinTech Cadence. And this really just helped us build a proper business that we thought made sense, that had, that was scalable. And then at the same time, fine tune the app so that it functions seamlessly for customers and restaurants, and it just integrates into their workflow. That was really important for us. So then come October, November of 2019, we launched in Montreal. Start to get traction. Our goal was really to push hard on restaurant acquisition in February of 2020. So as you can imagine, things started to roll. We hit about 15 restaurants on the platform, almost 800 users, and then everything stopped. Come March with COVID-19, it was we had to adjust because in Montreal, bars closed, restaurants closed, and so our app, which essentially allows customers to split and pay their bill directly from their phone, so really never have to wait for the payment terminal. We integrate to a restaurant's point of sale system. So for the restaurateur, there's almost no extra training required, and it really fits right into what they're already doing. obviously rely on people going to restaurants, going to bars, being present and being a part of that experience. And right now, that it was pretty much one day everything stopped. So that kind of brings us to March, where I feel like my story is not, or our story rather, is not unique. Everybody kind of had to take a step back and go, all right, what the heck just happened? And then, especially us, where we rely on independent bars and restaurants, so smaller businesses, which were the most affected by this. We were wondering, how's this industry going to look after this? So there's a lot of questions, it's a lot of noise. So we had to sit down and really figure out what are our next steps. How are we gonna help people in all this? Because there's no, the markets are out of whack. Like, there's no capital going around. Our businesses are just trying to figure out how to stay alive. So what can we do to provide them with some type of tool or some type of technology that's going to help them out, because the app is not cutting it. It's not going to be helpful to them in its current state. So, I mean, I'm sure other people you've interviewed too have all kind of did the same thing. But for us in Montreal, the restaurant space is it's a labor of love. It's a passionate thing that they do. It's really, they put their heart and soul into this business, and it takes a long time to get it to a point where you have, regular, stable income. And then all of a sudden, the whole, everything you built is on the edge of crashing. So it was a tough, few weeks at the beginning. But then, we started talking to our partners more and more, started talking to other restaurant owners, and we realized that we could really help them out. So I don't know if you want me to just continue and go through everything that we're doing.
No, that's great. So I want to digest a little bit, like, from what you said, right? Like, you just a group of guys. How many co-founders were there?
Yeah, sorry. So we're 3 co-founders.
3 co-founders, right? So you guys came out of the University of McGill, is it?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. And spent the summer working with a restaurant, wanted to go into the fintech space within restaurants. You work with a restaurant player to understand how they work and how they function currently, and what innovations to deploy.
Exactly.
Is that right?
That's 100% right.
So that key thinking, I think that's so critical that we just kind of blew past that. Not a lot of people do that. To go into the hands of an end client, work a deal is like, hey, can I work within your environment and see what I can fix in there? You're actually building something in a real world scenario. Most projects are built in someone's basement, in your dorm room, or like in an innovation center somewhere when you're sitting at your desk, so far removed. That's really cool that you guys did that. What spurred on that thinking?
Well, I think we knew that if we approached the problem from purely an engineering standpoint, we're going to come up with a purely engineering solution, which means like highly technical, probably not too user friendly. And the main thing is we don't have a background in restoration. None of us have ever worked in a restaurant before. Olivier did. He was a cook for a little bit during university.
Can you talk about why you chose the restaurant industry then, if none of you guys worked there?
Well, we just saw the problem from the end user perspective. It was really clear that there's a better way to do this. Payment in bars and restaurants, so in Quebec, you have to print this receipt. It has to be offered to you, Ontario too. But so we have something called a sales recording module. So it's a technology that's attached to every point of sale system. And essentially, so we had to find a way to work in that framework. But just to say, so first, we noticed from our end user perspective that this is a serious problem, that there could be a much better way of doing it. And that was clear to us. Now, what wasn't clear is this a problem for restaurants? If it seems so clear to us on a customer perspective, how come every restaurant seems pretty complacent, and everyone has the same terminals and everyone does the same things, and it just seems okay if you have to wait 15 minutes for the bill on a busy night. That's just how it is. What we were lucky enough that the owners of Grumman, gave us the time to actually go into greater detail and tell us, like, we do this because we have to, because there's no other solutions out there. And there are a hell of a lot of problems. Groups, if you're a group of 20 and everyone has to pay, you're there for 20 minutes. Everyone wants to pay their own bill. It's a challenge, and there's a lot of friction. And, and they get bad reviews on Google ratings, which is a main part of their business for things that are out of their control. You have 4 terminals and 100 seats in the restaurant and 2 seatings. People tend to come and leave at the same time. So there's always this point where this is bottleneck that you can't really overcome. And the way to do that well is, what if you had a payment terminal for every person in the restaurant? Hence check please. So, put the payment terminal in your hands and give the end user freedom and control of the payment.
Can you walk us through the user flow? Like what exactly the pain point you're going for, and how do you guys solve it?
Yeah.
What's there?
Yeah. So to be clear, our main customers are sit-down bars and restaurants. That's what we work on. It's kind of an area where consumer technology, other than reservations, really isn't a part of that experience. So we wanted to find a way that we could be an integral part of the overall dining experience at sit-down locations and bars as well. So basically it's really simple. When you walk into a restaurant or a bar, you place your order with your server like you're used to doing. So the interaction with waitstaff is very important. Waiters are essentially the salespeople of the restaurant. So they're trying to upsell you, and that's very important for a restaurant's bottom line. So we wanted to ensure that was always maintained, or if anything, strengthened by our technology. So after you place your order with the server, you simply ask for the table number. So it's really simple. Whatever table number is associated to the point of sale system, you give that to the customer. It's usually 10, 15. They plug that into our app, and right away you're connected, and you can see everything that you've ordered in real time. It's actually everything the table is ordered, all separated into seats. So you can simply select the seat that pertains to you and pay, or you can split the whole bill evenly. You can split individual items like a bottle of wine or a pitcher. And the whole point here is, a lot of people say, well, don't the waiters do that for you? And what we've done is, well, how can the customer help out and provide some relief, but in a way that's super easy and familiar. So it's really similar to splitting like an Uber. You send a request, they accept, and then it's as simple as that. So the whole process takes about 30 seconds. You click pay, the payment goes through, and you're done, and you can just walk out the door. It's useful, right? Imagine you're going to a Raptors game, and you wanted to go out for dinner right before. It took a little bit longer to get the food, but you still want to enjoy your experience. So you're eating, and then you look at the time, and damn, I gotta go. It's usually at that point where every second counts, and you still have to wait, the same as everyone else in that bar or restaurant. Who all have the same thought process. Everyone is in the same boat. So what this does is really provide an alternative for many different use cases, whether it be lunch, sporting events, or just people who are irritable. This is something for everybody, and we really think it's just the natural progression. We've seen digital payments become so popular. Essentially, this is just connected digital payments. It's just a step in the right direction, and I think in the future, I think even through how we met, you can see that other companies are starting to see that there's a lot of work to be done here, and the more people that do it, the better it is for all of us, because we're really going to start educating the consumer base and start pushing the industry in the right direction. So this is kind of our thought process on it. You know, you pay and you walk out the door.
Cool. No, I like it. It's super simple. Like one of the things I personally hate is like putting the hand up, trying to wave down the waitress, waiter.
Why
right?
do you
Call
have
them
to do
over.
that? Why do you have to do that? Why does that exist, right? That's
Yeah.
the only reason that exists is because it used to be a technical limitation, and now it just became a norm. It's the status quo, right? Not to sound too.
So what do you say to people who are like, you know, restaurant owners, like, you know, people come here for the experience. They want to talk to people.
100%. And we so when we started this, our first concept was you'll be able to do everything through an app, order, pay, you know, and you know, wait staff are essentially glorified bus people, right? And they just bring the food. Right away, at least restaurants and everyone we spoke to said that's a horrible idea because of how important that relationship is between the server and the customer. And I think most customers don't even realize when a waiter makes a recommendation for a bottle of wine or for a specific dish, like you tend to listen because they work there and they know what's good and what isn't. And there's a level of trust that exists. So if they say, you know, that the dessert that's on special right now, you know, you should really give it a shot, and then you order it, well, that's a huge upsell because those are high margin items. And that's what really makes or break, you know, like a good restaurant. Their staff is so important. So
like
with
one of the main things that like I got to appreciate working with Tap Menu and talking with restaurant owners and waitresses is that you tend to think of, when you're a consumer, you tend to think of wait staff as like, oh, they're like waiting on you, they're bringing stuff to you. But from a business standpoint and from a talent standpoint and from a employee standpoint, they're salespeople. They're like when you go into a fashion like a store or like, you know, any kind of retail location, and people come to you and like, you know, ask you for your needs and figure out what you want and connect with you and get paid tips, aka commission, right? I mean, part of their validation and how they earn money is built into the experience they provide for you, right? So by giving technology that better help them transact with people, I mean, that's just an evolution of that skill, right? I mean, naming a few pain points, it's like even just waving down your waiter or waitress, like, that's a negative experience itself. Most of the time when you go to a restaurant, you kind of know what you want, or you just want to talk to somebody, you want to ping them over.
Exactly.
Right? That's a real power behind utilizing technology in that kind of sense for that experience. But with COVID and the pandemic right now, and restaurants and bars being shut down, right? That must have 100% drastically affected your pipeline and your plans and the clients you work with, right? So what do you guys see?
Look, for us to put everything on hold, you know, but what hit us hard was just talking to our partners and hearing, you know, hearing their state of mind and having a bit of access into what they're thinking about right now and the worries that they have. That was a real eye opener for the entire team. To realize that this is serious. This is you know, make or break for a few businesses here. So you know, we have we're still together. We're you know, financially comfortable. So how can we go ahead and make the best of the situation for our partners and hopefully for other restaurants too in Montreal? And that unfortunately did not align with what our app does and what our philosophy as a company was originally. But the beauty of being, you know, 7-person company is you can change and you can adapt. So look, what we did, first thing we did is they need some capital. Restaurants, their cash flow totally stopped. So we started selling gift cards. So basically through the application, you can go on our website, purchase a gift card for a bunch of the restaurants that we have, and you'll be able to utilize that by paying through Check Please in the future when it opens again. But the restaurant gets the cash right away.
Wow.
So that helps them, right? And that actually, believe it or not, that $50, $100 gift card makes a huge difference. To allowing them to survive and transition to that takeout and delivery model that everybody's doing now. So that's something we did almost the week everything closed. We went ahead and implemented that, and it was great feedback. The Montreal community really rallied behind it. We were able to sell like a few $1,000s worth of gift cards in a week.
Amazing.
Yeah, we were happy about that. We were happy that we could provide that level of support in such a short amount of time. That was just good thinking, for the entire team. He just got together and said, look, what can we do right now? That was an easy thing.
Yeah.
So then step 2 is now, okay, so what can we do if you give us a month? What can we come up with? We started to see that transition is a bigger hurdle than we could have imagined. And a lot of restaurants were telling us that, and I quote them here, that this is an entirely different business. This is not the business we started with. Now I have to change it. I closed shop and I'm opening something else. So they needed technology to do that. Didn't necessarily have any capital, to purchase what's already on the market. Although people are giving deals, it's still commitment and there's strings attached. So what we did is actually went ahead and developed a online ordering platform that is 100% free for any restaurant to use, and just pay the credit card processing fees. And we've been distributing that around Montreal and I mean, really it's anybody in Canada who wants to use it. Essentially you send us your menu and we set it all up for you. We found we do it really quickly, and we basically give you a site to enable online ordering. A lot of restaurants in Montreal were taking it over the phone.
Yep.
So that's what we did straight. The first thing we found some frameworks online and we built it. And we actually have like almost 15 restaurants on using it right now. It's every day we're getting more and more interest. And the beauty of it is, well, because it's only the payment processing, which is a super small amount, if you do takeout and pick up orders from this platform for an online ordering site, as opposed to through Uber Eats or these other delivery platforms, you're saving that 30, 20.
Yeah,
30%.
Uber Eats, skip the dish, like 30%. 30% of what you're paying is going to them. That's a lot. It's like an app store.
Exactly. It's insanity, but they find the customer and they facilitate a lot of the difficult things that restaurants, individually would have trouble doing. So it's not that there's no value, but in this climate, what we're all having to deal with right now, every penny counts. It really is, every penny counts. So, fine for delivery, it's still a good option, but for pickup and takeout, having your own online ordering platform is a much more effective way to maximize profits. I mean, hell, you need technically 30% less sales and still be in the green. So I think that was really helpful. A lot of restaurants see the value in it. So we've been going ahead and just trying to spread the message that this exists. You're not alone. There's people here to help. I mean, if they can't figure out how to put a button on their website, we'll make them download TeamViewer and go ahead and do it for them. So like at this point, it's about how can you help your industry survive this, so that you still have a business when it's all done. And not to sound bleak, because restaurateurs are the most resilient people on the planet, and they'll come back stronger than ever when this is all done. But we want to see as many success stories as possible. If we can be a part of that, then
that's
even
amazing.
better.
That's amazing. So if you're just charging this the transaction fee, how are you guys monetizing with this?
Yeah, so we're not really in the mindset of monetization, right? I think I think we were lucky that we took fiscal responsibility very seriously from the beginning stages of the company. So we were never in a state where, we were worried, and we raised a modest round. We were able to get a lot of funding from different sources, whether it be from McGill or from other programs in Montreal. So and from the Quebec government as well. These type of things really helped us, and coming into this crisis, we were very comfortable. Right now we're able to provide this, knowing that we're doing the right thing, which is important. Or as a young startup, it's not like we had made it yet, right? We were just building up our reputability in the restaurant space, which is how you have to start. Technology in this industry. You have to build the relationships, you have to build the trust. So, I mean, essentially, we're continuing to do that in a different way, with the hopes that when everything comes back together, we'd still continue pushing Check Please and creating that change that we want to see. But you got to pick and choose your timing. Right now, it's you need to help. You just have to help everyone as best you can, and that'll good things come around, and that's how we see it. We think it just made sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's great what you're doing. Like, I was kind of hoping you'd say what you did, because we're finding a lot of these companies, especially early stage companies, who are putting monetization out the window. It's a lot of entrepreneurs. People don't recognize is that they go into a market wanting to solve a problem, and it's almost like you're forced to monetize in order to do so, right? To raise the money, to get the investor interest, to be able to pay the staff and to expand and do marketing. All this extra stuff gets piled on to solve the problem, getting out to market. What's cool about what's happening right now with COVID-19 is it's a catalyst for a whole new dynamic of working and doing things. Because not that all gone out the window. Even investors I'm talking to are now funding projects not based off of ROI, but off impact. Because they know money's frozen right now, revenue's frozen up, no one's really spending. But if companies can still grow and manage to deliver on impact, like you said, when the market recovers, these are the companies that the market remembers, and actually they can monetize at that time.
No, absolutely. It's only going to benefit you as a company if you're going out there and creating that goodwill and creating the relationships and actually finding new customers during this whole thing through different mechanisms. It's only a huge benefit to you. And I can even tell you, just from the gift cards, when we started doing that, and that was only for our existing partners, we actually onboarded 10 new restaurants just from that. So we've continued to grow even throughout the times where our app is not functional because there's no place for it to be used. In a climate where restaurants are, in a state of disarray, we were still able to grow and continue spreading positivity at the same time. So I think altogether it's working out, but again, we can't keep our eye off the ball in terms of continuing to support the industry, support the restaurants that we work with, because without them, we don't have anything. In Montreal, just like in Toronto, that our culture is dependent on these businesses. That's really important thing for us. So we have to be there for them.
That's brilliant. That's amazing. So how can people help? How can people be part of this? Where can they find you?
So our website, www.checkplease.ca. So chkplz.ca. Leave it to 3 engineers to pick a name with no vowels. Hey, that's what it is. So check out the website. So we're doing a bunch of things, whether it be gift cards. We even started partnering with a few restaurants that you can actually donate food to frontline workers. So you can donate a pizza to nursing staff at a hospital. You can donate mac and cheese from one of our restaurants to doctors at a different hospital. So we also have that running. We've raised almost $2,000 for that as well. That's simply just because the restaurant, or one of our restaurants, Keste, they had this idea that how can we do support anyway. So that we had the technology side, they had the pizzas. We came together and said, let's launch
That's
this.
amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, good on you guys. We're hoping to help any way we can. And hopefully whoever listens here can reach out and provide some assistance as well. But Roberto, man, great on you and great on the team for what you guys are doing post the pandemic. Well, we're still going through it, but during this time, right? But yeah, we'll cut the episode here because I really like all that we covered. Stick around for a few more minutes and we'll do a little debrief. Okay.
All right. Awesome.
Cool, man. See you guys.